we spend most of our waking hours at work. So you've got to enjoy what you're doing, and you've got to enjoy the people that you're working with. And I think you've got to, as a leader, you have to control what you can control, especially in a big organisation. There's so much that's out of your control. But I think even if you're outside or in a small organisation, own your own business like you do, you've just got to focus on what you can control. And I think, for me, the well-being of our people and the way that we support the community is very much in our control and very much lends to our brand.
My guest today is Brendan Rinaldi, ANZ's General Manager of Business Banking for Western Australia, South Australia and the Northern Territory. He has a background in accounting, restructuring, banking and finance, and he previously worked for PwC and KordaMentha before joining ANZ.
So we can't sort of group agri with commercial. It's different. Farmers need to be treated differently. They're on, they live on their farms, and it's very emotional for them when they're going through tough times, and when we need to sort of have a dedicated division for that. And at the end of the breakfast, he said, well, we're going to set up a team and you're going to run it.
Brendan has led large national and state teams over the past 4 years, focusing on a high-performance culture and a values-based approach. He's passionate about developing and expanding on his leadership skills and bringing out the best in others. Having grown up on his family farm in the Riverina, he has strong views on ensuring a sustainable approach to banking and doing the right thing by customers and the community. Hi, I'm Sarah Bartholomew's from YouLegal. The Accountants on Purpose podcast showcases inspiring accountants who are leaders in their field.
And then it just came to me like a bolt of blue.
What makes them tick?
Love it.
How did they get to where they are?
I want to inspire.
And what do they do now for their teams, their clients, and the world? Are you looking to make a difference in your accounting career? Chartered Accountants Australia and New Zealand have designed a new program to offer greater learning flexibility, allowing candidates to balance work and study efficiently. The new CA program offers authentic assessments based on real-world scenarios that integrate technical and professional capabilities and impactful learning through a blend of digital and face-to-face options. Learn more, search New CA program today. So what was your favourite game when you were a child?
Favourite game was there was an agri game called Squatter where you had to build your sheep station up, and that was a pretty cool game.
It's like the Monopoly of agri
exactly
areas. I remember playing it in my cousin's house.
Yeah.
It's a great game. Oh my goodness, that is a flashback.
I haven't seen it for a while. I don't know if we've still got it, but yeah.
Kids would like it.
They would.
So you started your career as an accountant. You're a CPA qualified accountant. How did you transition into the banking sector and find yourself where you are today? And where is that? That's like a big question.
Yeah, a few changes obviously that we've spoken about recently. So I guess I started as an accountant with PwC, obviously a Big Four firm, in an audit and tax hybrid area. We called it Enterprise Services and Growth, where you did a bit of a quasi-audit for some clients and you did the tax on others. So it was good to learn. I quit there and went overseas in 2008. Came back and wanted to get out of audit, and obviously it was GFC time, and they said, well, what do you want to do? And I said corporate finance, and they said, well, the economy's hitting the skids. There's no one hiring there, but corporate recovery are hiring, and you might want to chat to them, and it might be something you're interested in. So I went and had a chat to the team in corporate recovery. So I worked with them for 12 months, sort of mid-2008 to mid-2009, and sort of realised that, they were getting good work, but they were conflicted out of a lot of work because of the audit function, and audited a couple of the bank. And KordaMentha were picking up the big roles, and I met the guys from KordaMentha at an industry event, and my sister, being ex-Anderson, knew a lot of those guys and had worked with them, and I subsequently knew, a lot of them as well. And they said, what are you working with PwC for? Come to KordaMentha, which I did, and worked on some really big engagements from sort of late 2009 over the next few years. And I just happened to be on a job that was an ANZ appointed job, which was guns down in Tasmania, went into receivership.
The forestry business?
Yeah, that's right. A vacancy must have come up in ANZ, and they called my boss and said, could Brendan come on secondment with us for 12 months? And it was something that I was keen to do. I guess I always thought if I was going to make it to the top and be a partner at KordaMentha, best to put yourself in the customer's shoes and understand how that works. So a couple of the partners like Craig Shepherd and others in KordaMentha had done that before and found it really valuable experience to sort of be able to put themselves in the customer's shoes.
Yeah,
So,
and understanding how a bank works seems like, to me, as somebody outside a bank, like such a mystery, such a big organisation,
exactly,
so many different stakeholders.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be really valuable to do that.
Yeah. So, that was the same thinking for me. So, so I went across there, within about 6 months, they started having chats with me about whether I'd join full time. And of course, at the end of the 12 months, they offered me a full-time role and I was loving it. I had a great boss at the time. It was really good work. I sort of felt on the advisory side, sometimes you just advise, but you don't follow through on strategy unless you've actually got a formal appointment as an administrator or receiver. But actually working with the bank and distressed companies, you can adapt the strategy and follow it through.
Yeah.
And helping those customers get through the other side was really rewarding.
Yeah.
So I took the role on. 3 months later, the team got restructured, had a chat to the incoming boss about the broader agri strategy in our risk area. And a few months later, after he'd sort of had time to digest it and complete the restructure, he called me in for breakfast and said, talk me through this agri piece again. And so you can't sort of group agri with commercial. It's different. Farmers need to be treated differently. They're on, they live on their farms and it's very emotional for them when they're going through tough times and when we need to sort of have a dedicated division for that. And at the end of the breakfast, he said, we're going to set up a team and you're going to run it. And I was like, I've only been at the bank 12 months. Like, I don't know what I'm doing.
What you expected from a breakfast.
Exactly. But he said, don't worry, you'll learn and we'll put some support around you. So to have someone like that early in your career give you that faith and confidence was awesome. And it's probably been the catalyst for, going on and having other leadership roles in the bank. So that was my first true leadership role. I went from almost 0 reports to sort of 22. And then that team built over the next 2 years to around 30. And then 2 years later, I took on a frontline role, so a more lending role and out of risk. And that was running corporate agribusiness and regional emerging corporate for VicTaz. 12 months later, I came to Adelaide and run our business banking for 1 to 10 million. And I've done that for the last 3.5 years now.
Yeah.
So that was across SA and NT. So really good team.
And WA now?
Yeah, and 6 months ago picked up WA as well. So just recently, sort of out of the blue, an opportunity came up, which was sort of a pathway I wanted to pursue at some point. Timing's
always a thing.
Always a thing. And I guess I just picked up WA. So it was a little bit of, mixed emotions, but that was certainly something I wanted to pursue and applied for a role as ANZ's head of health for our institutional and corporate business. And went through the process and have just been appointed into that role.
Congratulations. I feel like this is an announcement.
Yeah, basically. So, that starts in a couple of weeks. Yeah, something I'm really looking forward to. I mean, like I said, mixed emotions because I just picked up WA really. Like 6 months, you're kind of just getting into your groove of bringing the two businesses together and you always feel as though you've got unfinished business and when you've built a team, you do get attached a little bit. So. But at the same time, we've always got to take new challenges and grow. And so I'm looking forward to the next opportunity.
Yeah, looking forward to hearing more about it too. What is the biggest misconception about the banking industry?
I think at the end of the day, like big organisations and brands have that little bit of negativity, that whether it's banking or other big brands like, say a Telstra or something like that, they're sort of easy targets and sometimes such big organisations, sometimes you get it wrong. I guess what people really need to understand is we're 39,000 people and 99% of our team get up every day and try to do the right thing. Unfortunately, when you've got so when it's such a big business, you're going to get something wrong. And I think people just need that perspective that, think of a town with 40,000 people. You never go, like when you go through recruitment, you think you get it right. You never get it right 100% of the time. And sometimes you do get some bad eggs and sometimes it's just, someone who's done the wrong thing can just, damage the reputation of the whole business. But sometimes it's just, it's just, to put perspective on it, you just got to say, well, that's just one part they've got wrong. You shouldn't tarnish the whole thing. But I think banks play such a great role as an intermediary for finance in terms of, the support through the economy. And obviously through COVID played such a pivotal role in terms of getting that stimulus into the economy. And it's just been, phenomenal, the amount of activity and the way that Australia's pulled through. And obviously the banks have played a big role. And obviously it's been great to sort of repair some of that reputation. But I think, it'd be nice if everyone just looked at us that way in terms of, it is just 39,000 people turning up to work, trying to do the right thing, but occasionally we do get it wrong. And we do have systems in place to try and monitor that sometimes.
Yeah, of course.
I talked about the community, in a community of 40,000 people, you're going to have, 6 or 10 policemen, monitoring that, because in nature, people don't always do the right thing. You hope they do.
Also, stuff happens in people's lives.
Exactly, 100%.
So you mentioned the Royal Commission.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about your experience with the Royal Commission?
Yeah, actually, it could have gone one of two ways, but luckily enough, I didn't have to take the stand on the Royal Commission. That time I spoke to you about when I was in risk for agribusiness. So the Royal Commission was all around how we treated customers, and especially some of those in distress. And like I said, a lot of these things we've learned from, and we've remediated some of the fees and that sort of thing. My involvement was that I was actually, because of that prior involvement I had in risk, was one of 3 people that could have faced the Royal Commission for how we dealt with our agribusiness customers. Fortunately, my old boss was the one that got the call up, and he was actually on the stand for 3 days, which I think was the longest of anyone.
Goodness.
So, yeah, I did have to sort of, after I obviously wasn't chosen, work with him for a full week, and we were sort of working till midnight every night, making sure he was prepared. And they gave you like the key reference points that they wanted to flesh out. So you sort of had to focus on those, and it was a really interesting experience. Like I said, I'm glad I wasn't the one chosen to be on there for 3 days. I mean, Ben did a terrific job, but yeah, very interesting experience.
Did you sit in and watch the?
No. He was in. I think it was in Queensland.
Okay.
And yeah, I remember being on a leadership meeting that day. On one of the days, he was up there and listening in from time to time. But yeah, no, I wasn't there. But I know it took quite a bit out of him. I mean, you could imagine being up there for 3 days, and but yeah, like I said, he did a terrific job.
I remember seeing a former boss of mine giving evidence in the Supreme Court and sitting there with his wife, who was there as moral support as well, and just thinking, if I ever have to do this, it will not be, I will not sleep in the lead up, because you just can't predict anything that's going to happen. You have strong views on ensuring a sustainable approach to banking and doing the right thing by customers in the community, which you've already talked about a bit. Tell us about what that means and how you achieve that.
We spend most of our waking hours at work, so you've got to enjoy what you're doing, and you've got to enjoy the people that you're working with. And I think you've got to, as a leader, you have to control what you can control, especially in a big organisation. There's so much that's out of your control. But I think even if you're outside or in a small organisation, own your own business like you do, you've just got to focus on what you can control. And I think, for me, the well-being of our people and the way that we support the community is very much in our control and very much lends to our brand. And at the end of the day, looking after your people, giving them the skills, but also not just the work skills, but also the life skills in terms of looking after themselves and their well-being, does ultimately produce performance at the end of the day as well. So well-being can be misunderstood sometimes.
Or thought of as fluffy.
Yeah, exactly. But it's really interesting to ask people, what does well-being mean to you? And I think for me, it's always been, the person as the whole bringing, the best version of themselves to work. I mean, that's not an uncommon term. I mean, people hear that all the time. But when you bring the best version of yourself to work, I mean, that's, or bringing your full self, that's the person that our customers want to be around, that your colleagues want to be around, but also your family and friends. So what tools can we bring? And I think community ties in with that, because when you do work with the community, it does give you that really good feeling of fulfillment when you've done something really good. I mean, as you know, we've done the ANZ Community Ball twice now, and that's something that I'm obviously quite passionate about and have led pretty hard into. And it's been hugely successful, but it does give you a great sense of fulfillment that we're actually making an impact on these organisations and our broader community. And that's a really big part of our purpose. But I think that's really good for the well-being of our people too. So it's kind of mixed. And look,
it has a double purpose.
Oh, exactly.
Impact.
Yeah, 100%. We've been on, I don't think, similar to culture, you're always on a journey. I think with the well-being and performance of your people and what you do in the community is a journey as well. So there's never a full stop. It's always continuing. So it's always looking for new ways that we can support the community, we can support our people, and particularly around wellbeing, because some of the initiatives, you've got to keep them new and fresh. And we've done many things to try and help our people just find that balance. I don't like to say work-life balance. I think it's just life balance, because like I said, work is a big part of your life. You spend most of your waking hours there. So you just got to find the right tools. And And that's not about, I know you said the word fluffy, but it's not about also creating an environment that's too comfortable that you just don't get anything done, because that doesn't. So there is that balance of creating the right amount of stress in the environment, creating that openness amongst each other, and being sort of honest and truthful about where we're at. And we just did a session this week, a director of performance and a sports psychologist, and we spoke about the importance of recovery. So we push ourselves to achieve great things, and you don't achieve great things unless you do push yourself. So that does come with stress. So you can't have a stress-free life. Like, it's impossible, right? And would you want that? Like, you wouldn't want that. You've got to actually push yourself. But the important part of that is also recovery, and that's probably one thing that we neglect a fair bit. So,
yeah, but athletes really take so seriously.
They do, like ice baths and sleep and diet and things like that. Like, we wouldn't necessarily associate that in our lives, and we've all got busy periods at work. So you can almost predict that June, if you've got a June year end, that you're going to be really busy. December in the lead up to Christmas, because you're going to take January off, is really busy. So when your peak performance periods are. So
plan around it.
Yeah, exactly. So plan for your recovery. So that's something that we're sort of exploring now at the moment too, because that's probably where you can get into that spiral of feeling tired and run down. It's because you haven't been disciplined around your recovery. So that's a journey we've been on, and we've worked a lot with the SAMRI, the South Australian Health and Medical Research Institute, and their Wellbeing and Resilience Centre here. Tom Neamy with Healthy Minds, Beck Smith. Like, there's a number of great resources here locally that we've pulled in to help and bring fresh ideas, particularly around the positive mentality and things like that. So, and look, we've seen the results in the business. I don't think it's rocket science. It's just really looking after your people, and you do get the results. Like, it's just part of running a good business, I think, and also doing that work in the community does support your brand. So it's been really big for us.
We did a risk review for an allied health business recently, and one of the outcomes was that the key person, the managing director, needed a wellbeing plan.
Yeah.
Like, they were so key to so many things in the business and weren't looking after themselves. And so, it's like a risk that needs to be managed.
Yeah.
And you need to start doing something about it now, or you won't have a business.
Yeah. And look, sometimes we think it's brave by just giving it all to the business and leaving yourself to last. But, some people say it's like being on the aeroplane and you've got to put your own oxygen mask on first, before you can help others. So,
definitely.
And that takes discipline.
It does.
So, yeah.
So you grew up on your family farm in the Riverina, which is still in operation. Give us a snapshot about that compared to city life.
Look, it's. I think when I walked back into the banking sector, coming from KordaMentha, they said, "Oh, you're off the farm. You can deal with our agri clients." And I hadn't worked in agri for some time then, but it was great because I was able to reconnect with my dad and ask him a lot of questions, and my brother, who'd been home on the farm for a while, and it was good because I'd obviously been away and lived in Perth for a while, went overseas, and I was in Melbourne and didn't get back to the farm that much, and it sort of reignited that passion, I guess, for the farm. Like, growing up, obviously in a small community and on the farm was great when I reflect on it. And I remember on a couple of occasions, saying to Dad, we should do this and we should do that. Whether he had any strategy behind it or not, he said, I'm not interested in that. You can do that if you want to. So that's how I sort of got into
your entrepreneurial life.
My own little, land purchase. And then I suggested another thing, and he said, I'm not interested in that. I'm too old. If you and your brother want to do that, you can do that. So it was just a bit of a different direction we wanted to head. So I said to my brother, do you want to try this? And he said, yes. So we set up our own partnership, and here we are 2 years later. And
how's it going?
Yeah, it's going quite well. I mean, the first year we got started, it was a drought year and certainly tested us. And I thought, geez, is this for me? Like, you've got to rely on the gods and the weather and
so many things.
Now
there's a mouse play.
Exactly. There's one thing after another. But look, it does make you think a bit differently. You've got to be very agile in that environment too, and you've actually got to make decisions. Like, difference between making money or not is really the timing on when you make decisions, and also diversifying as well. So, diversifying the livestock, making sure we've got water on the property and enough feed and those sorts of things. So, but also, again, putting the biggest part of my current job, which is about to be my old job in business banking, the biggest component of our business was agribusiness. So most of our customers are farmers, and it allows you to step into the shoes of your customer again.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Sitting across, from a farming customer, you could really say, get it to another level of conversation, if you like, and really understand their business, and also, doing a credit assessment on the other side as to should we lend them money or not. Once you've got that embedded knowledge in in what you do, like you can study all you like, but unless you get your hands dirty and actually get involved, that's when you get that true learning and understanding. And I found that it became much easier for me to make that sort of assessment but also educate others around this is the sort of things you need to look for. These are the risks. These are the mitigants. This is what they should be looking at. Roughly, this is what the cost per hectare would be. This is what the revenue should be. So things like that. And it's been a great journey. I mean, obviously a journey we're still on. Could always do with a bit more rain.
Always.
But yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun.
COVID-19 pandemic has touched every person on the planet in one way or another. How have you been impacted by the ongoing crisis?
I think the first thing was when it first hit and we went into lockdown. It was amazing really to see, apart from the medical side and people getting sick, which was obviously tragic, but the other side of it in terms of the way that people came together almost had a bit of a reset on what was important in life. I think that was really good for everyone. And for me, like I'd never been able to be in a position to take paternity leave. I mean, that's not our institution actually does have a really good policy around it. That's probably just where I've been at in my life. But that time at home and actually being forced to work from home actually did give me some more time with the family, especially my little girl at the time was only 1. And as you know, at that age, they sort of just go through such a spike in terms of development. Exactly. So to see them sort of walking and then learning to talk and all that sort of thing. And just come in and knock on the door and just come in and sit on your lap for a couple of minutes when you might be on a Teams call or a Zoom call was just magic. So, but I guess the fact that we're trialing new things, and there were probably things that we did in 6 months that would have taken us 6 years, for example. So the speed of being able to just deliver things was just when we push ourselves, it's amazing what we can do sometimes. And I think the way that our organisation dealt with it was just phenomenal in terms of get everyone mobilised from home. We had the bandwidth, all that sort of stuff really quickly. The way that we could support our customers through the packages, like I said, we just showed what we can do when we put our minds to it. And well, don't get me wrong, a lot of hard work in the background.
Of course. It's
still coming through. I think I mentioned to you when I just popped in before that we're going through a refurb in the office. So we're sort of changing things around just to pilot, how things might look in the future and trying to make, the workplace a little bit more friendly for our staff and make it a bit better experience. So look, it might work, it may not, but it's a pilot, right? So we're just trialing new things. But I think despite the tragedy of the people getting sick from it and shout out to our people in India who are really struggling at the moment and obviously with what's going on over there. But on the other side of it, there's been some really good learnings and change that will come of it as well.
What is your purpose?
What is my purpose? To grow every day and learn and just to make sure that you're having a positive impact on everyone around you. It was interesting, even just changing roles and talking to my wife about it and saying, is that really you? It's like, well, I'm pretty comfortable. I'll make anything work. If you go into anything with the right attitude and a positive mindset, you make what you want to make of it. Doesn't matter what your career or what the job is. I think if you bring the right attitude, you make it work. Keep growing, keep challenging myself, bring a positive mindset, but also, provide a positive influence on others.
Is there anything that I haven't asked you that I should have?
Not sure. Was there anything else you had written down?
No. What would you tell your 18-year-old self?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I think it is just do what you love doing. I think those early days in my career working in audit, and I know this is an accounting podcast, so no offence to any auditors, but it probably wasn't for me. It was pretty monotonous and a bit dry and the same thing, and I probably didn't enjoy it that much. When I look back, it was really fundamental to setting the foundations for my career. But I think it like we've said it a couple of times here that you spend most of your working life, most of your life awake at work.
Yes.
You better enjoy what you're doing and who you're doing it with. And I guess I may not have liked what I was doing, but I actually always loved the people I was working with. So I've always been part of good teams. It's always been hard to move on from those teams, but you sort of create your own environment too, right? Like if you bring that positive mindset and like I said, and you focus on, creating the right vibe with others and making sure they're positive too, you do, create good teams and I think you naturally find the right people. Plants sort of grow towards the light, right? So you sort of naturally will find those people as well, I think, if you're in that mindset.
Thanks for coming in today.
No, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
We're on a mission to find like-minded accountants from around Australia. If you are a purpose-led accountant, continue the conversation with us in our private Facebook group. Search for Accountants on Purpose. Join us, and together we can change the world for good, for good.